Hi, everybody. Again, how are you? I miss you guys. I've just been thinking about it, and it's going to be 2 weeks before I see all of you for our Tuesdays live with me. So it'll be great to be back on the 16th. This is part two of the certified power buyer expectation that I'm going to be setting. I just finished recording part one, and I realized that you guys get to see Benny Biscuits. I didn't notice that in the frame. That's our mascot. That's Benny Biscuits. Hey, BB. So I don't know any of you that haven't seen him before. This is the one of the loves of my life, the great loves of my life. Okay, thank you for tuning in and listening. So I want to talk about and these recordings. I thought I would have about 15 minutes each, and I think that they're not going to be. The last one I just did was about 10 minutes. This one might be even shorter as I kind of wrap it up. So just to get started on that, certified power buyer is going to be, just recapping quickly, it's going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 different 30-minute calls where we talk about what your goals are, what your qualifications are today, some definitions about those qualifications from an underwriting perspective as it meets with where you are today, and then teaching you effectively how to optimize those things. And then we round everything out at the end and get into planting seeds and creating roadmaps so that you are meeting milestones as they relate to your goals, and then making sure that those qualifications are in line as well. So that's kind of the gist. On my last video, I talked about part one, part two. I started to get into part three, debt to income ratio. So I'm going to pick up there. So debt to income ratio is normally, it falls on part three. Remember that this is a fluid conversation and one in which that I am very happy to keep loose so that we can cover different topics that may be important to you. Um, but if it goes as planned, debt to income ratio will be for part three, and that's where we're going to really discuss the definitions in underwriting as it applies to conventional loans. Maybe it's a non-QM loan, maybe it's a bank statement loan inside a non-QM, maybe it's a debt service coverage ratio. So based on wherever you are, the conversation will be dictated on those details. But more often than not, we're going to take time on a full doc, usually conventional. It doesn't always have to be a Fannie Freddie loan when you're going full doc. And full doc is going to be, you know, files of blood and DNA samples, pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, W-2s, all of that stuff. And when we get into that, we're really going to take a close look at the ways in which rental income is used to qualify. There's two ways in which we are going to look at rental income, something called the acquisition year, applicable from the day that you've purchased the property, acquired the property, and until that year's tax return is filed. That is a very, very simple formula. It comes with some other details that will be important to learn, and how it's applicable and who it's applicable for, this acquisition year formula, that we can get through fairly easy without too much brain damage. But then we're going to go into the Schedule E formula. Now, this is wildly more complicated. There's lots of visual aids on this call, and even the prior calls that I spoke about in my last week's video. But we're going to look at Schedule E tax returns, example tax returns that we've used and we've redacted appropriately. And then we're going to look at pre-formulated Excel worksheets straight from Fannie Freddie calculation. And we're going to see what we pull from where and where we put it. And if you have rental properties, this is very, very useful because you can see it real time, and as it applies to you particularly versus just the examples. But getting an idea and seeing how the pluses and minuses work within the Schedule E, I think is so powerful, and so useful, because you've lifted back the veil, right? You got to see the wizard and the ingredients in the cake, and understanding this is what goes into it so that you can prepare. Well, we're going to be the ones probably to help you prepare on an annual basis, for how do you want to file this year, right? We talk about this a lot in our community, or I've talked about it over the last year and a half a lot in the community. And I think that people recognize how powerful it is to have that information related to your debt to income ratio as a real estate investor. So we really go into a great deal of detail to discuss all of that, what the add backs are, what you can't add back, how much do you want to maximize that year deduction, When do you think that you're going to be in a position potentially to take advantage of the real estate professional exemption? That's something else that we discuss, so on and so forth. So part three, typically real deep dive into debt to income ratio. I make a stupid joke. For those of you that have done and done CPB with me one-on-one, you're going to remember this one. But the morning of debt to income ratio, I want to make sure that you have a good breakfast. So if you're an eggs and bacon kind of person, make sure you get your brain food because this one is going to be tough. And a lot of times too, gang, it's not uncommon for us to do debt to income ratio twice. It is a lot of information. And I know for me, I need to hear something and see something and do something, maybe even hear it 2 and 3 times before I really can retain it. So if that's the case, feel free. We'll make sure that we take as much time as we need to. Um, and that's going to be debt to income ratio. If we have time, if we get through it quickly enough, we can then take part three and touch on LLC for anybody that has any interest in that for asset protection, the different types of LLC, how many properties do you put in an LLC? Do I want to have an LLC in the state that the property is located in? Is the LLC necessary? What about a trust? What if I just got an umbrella policy and blanket insurance that covered $1 million of liability, and maybe I don't need the LLC? Oh, Benny's Ride is here. I'm recording to my fans. No, it's okay. It's for next week. Thank you. Sorry, gang. That'll just be a little fun peek into the day in the life. So LLC. So a lot of that is going to be subjective to what your comfort levels are. All of my properties have always been held in an LLC. Has that been necessary always? Not necessarily. I'll go into that if and when we get there. And that should be part three if we get through it. Maybe LLC is put into a part four. And then finally, we're going to wrap all of this information up, okay? And we're going to come up with a schematic that outlines and details for you where are you today, okay? We need to know what your baseline is. That'll have been defined already for us. We already know what your goals are. You want to have 5 properties in the next 12 months, and in 10 years time or 7 years time or 3 years time, you want to have amassed $10,000 a month of passive net income. Okay, so we have all of those variables. Now we can solve for those things, knowing what we know about the products, the loan products that we have, and some expectations about where you're going to be and what you're going to be able to amass along the way. And then we can kind of create the milestones that say, okay, by the month 28, this is where we think we should be. And there's going to be a lot of time in the middle where we reconnect and maybe things have changed. Maybe we had to pivot because this happened, or excuse me, or maybe we've changed our strategy and now we're really just going to focus on short-term rentals. We have to come back to the well and kind of rejigger where we thought we were going to be and set new expectations for ourselves and what our goals are going to be. So the certified power buyer final call is going to be about really putting pen to paper and making sure that we have a great outline, that roadmap that I'm always talking about, planting those seeds along the way so that we are meeting our goals within that reasonable time frame, or that time frame that you have designated to hit, and whatever that means for you, whether it's total replacement of your current ordinary income through real estate, or maybe it's supplementation. A lot of times clients love what they do. Our investors love what they do for their W-2 job, and they'll always do that, but they just want the freedom potentially to choose how much of their time is spent doing that, because they have this retirement passive income over here. Whatever the case may be for you, isn't really important. It's not a one size fits all. So everybody is going to have their own unique circumstances. But I think that sums it up. That's another almost 10 minutes here. You get a good idea, I think, of what goes into these certified power buyer calls. They are all video calls, by the way, and you're going to want to be in front of your computer when you do these, ideally. I do have clients that are, on the road throughout the day. I have a police officer, in fact, I wonder if he'll hear this or see this, where he does it from his police car, right? He's got, I think, probably a laptop there, and I'm able to share screen and do some of the visual aid stuff that I was talking about, and we get it done that way. So, but otherwise, you do want to have a computer and internet, and there'll be video calls, and it's a good time. I think you're going to enjoy it. So for those of you that are brave enough and want to take advantage of this, I look forward to connecting with you on these one-on-one calls. You have to sign up. You want to talk to your dedicated loan specialist about how to do that. You have to have an application in. We have to have credit pulled, all of your updated income and other documentation that's required in order to take advantage of this. But otherwise, yeah, it's time with me, and I think that it's valuable. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, guys, so that's it. This is the 9th of May. You'll be watching this. I will be back live with you on the 16th. I'm going to be getting some sun and hanging out and doing some road trips with my family in Tucson. And that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm excited about that. And then the 16th, you'll be seeing some posts and some marketing stuff that's going to go out. It's with the appraiser, guest speaker appraiser that I've been mentioning. It's going to be awesome. I spoke to this person yesterday, and he is a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to learn some things. I'm certain of it. I've got some questions, some under the cover questions for him. See if we can stump him. See if he can answer some. And I would encourage you guys to come with your own questions, right? If you've been on the other side of having an appraisal that came in low, or that you didn't agree with comps, or whatever it may be, have your questions ready. He'll be able to take those for us and answer those for us. I anticipate that call is probably going to run over the standard 30, maybe even up to an hour. So if you want to set aside some additional time, I think that would be a good idea. Otherwise, I will see you then. Thanks all. In the meantime, if you need anything, obviously you have direct access, info@ridgelendinggroup.com. Call us toll free, 855-74-RIDGE. You can get on our website, fill out an application, all of that stuff. We are at your service. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks.